The moon was never empty. That's the part they never told us. For decades, humanity looked up at the moon and saw silence. A dead world. A wasteland of dust and craters frozen in time for billions of years. The perfect symbol of isolation. And when the Apollo astronauts walked across its surface, the world believed we had conquered the final frontier. According to classified leaks buried for over 50 years, the astronauts didn't come back alone. In 1969, just hours after Apollo 11 landed inside the Sea of Tranquility, Mission Control in Houston received a transmission that never appeared in public recordings. The message was allegedly intercepted, erased, and sealed under emergency military classification before the astronauts even returned to Earth. Because what they found on the moon was not rock, not debris, not a natural formation. It was architecture, massive geometric structures buried beneath the lunar surface, perfect angles, tower-like formations stretching beneath dust, and enormous black stone walls hidden inside the crater itself. At first, NASA believed the readings were equipment malfunctions. The moon wasn't supposed to contain magnetic anomalies that powerful. It wasn't supposed to have hollow chambers kilometers wide beneath the crust. But every scan confirmed the same impossible truth. Something enormous existed under the moon, and somebody had built it. The discovery triggered one of the most secretive operations in human history. Rome Protocol, a multinational agreement between the United States, the Soviet Union, and several allied governments to suppress all information connected to the structures beneath the moon. Officially, the space race continued as normal. Unofficially, the race had completely changed. Because now the goal was no longer reaching the moon. It was reaching whatever was hiding beneath it. Over the next several years, classified lunar missions increased dramatically behind closed doors. Public launches slowed. Media attention faded. The world assumed humanity had simply lost interest in lunar exploration after Apollo. But hidden missions continued in silence. And according to leaked intelligence files, the Soviets made the first real breakthrough. In 1972, an unmanned excavation probe deployed near the far side of the moon disappeared beneath the surface after drilling through a layer of unstable rock inside a crater now redacted from official lunar maps. For 17 minutes, the probe transmitted footage before the signal abruptly cut out. The footage has never been publicly released, but descriptions from insiders all say the same thing. The probe entered an enormous underground chamber. Not a cave, a city. The Soviets reportedly named it Lunagrad during early reports. But over time, another name emerged among researchers and intelligence officers involved in the operation. Moon Rome. Because the structures beneath the moon resembled the ruins of an impossibly ancient empire. Massive arches lined endless corridors beneath the lunar crust. Colossal pillars stretched hundreds of feet high into darkness. Entire underground highways carved through black stone vanished into distant districts too large to fully map. Some tunnels contained abandoned transit rails wider than modern highways. Others led toward gigantic circular chambers, sealed behind metallic gates covered in symbols no linguist could identify. And strangest of all, the architecture looked disturbingly human. Not alien in the way people imagined. No bizarre technology. No incomprehensible shapes. Moon Rome looked ancient, monumental, imperial, like humanity had somehow been there before history began. The secrecy surrounding the discovery became absolute. American intelligence feared global panic. Soviet leadership feared religious collapse. Because if the structures were truly ancient, then it meant human civilization might not have started on Earth at all. Soon, excavation teams from multiple nations were sent underground. That's when the disappearances started. The first vanished during a tunnel survey near Sector 12 beneath the crater basin. 3 workers entered a transit corridor extending beneath a collapsed district. Only 1 returned. According to leaked medical reports, the survivor was found wandering nearly 2 kilometers away without his oxygen equipment. His suit recorder had captured 6 straight hours of audio, mostly silence, then whispering. At first, investigators assumed it was interference from the communication systems, until translators enhanced the recording. Multiple voices could allegedly be heard beneath the static. Not random sounds, chanting, perfectly synchronized. As if thousands of people were speaking together somewhere deep underground. The survivor never fully recovered psychologically. During interrogation, he repeated the same phrase over and over again. They were waiting below. After that incident, entire sections of Moon Rome were sealed. But the deeper researchers explored, the stranger the city became. Some districts appeared completely abandoned. Others showed signs of sudden evacuation. Tables remained set with preserved objects resembling tools and ceremonial instruments. Large chambers contained rows of seated figures frozen in place beneath layers of dust. At first, they were believed to be statues. They weren't. The bodies were perfectly preserved. Humanoid. Tall, pale, thin, dressed in dark metallic fabrics that had somehow survived for unimaginable lengths of time. Most were seated facing massive sealed gates positioned throughout the underground city. As if they had all gathered there together, waiting for something to return. Researchers also began documenting impossible electromagnetic activity beneath the moon. Entire corridors would briefly illuminate during lunar eclipses despite having no visible power source. Ancient transit systems suddenly activated for several seconds at a time. Signals transmitted from beneath the crust toward deep space in repeating mathematical patterns no one could decipher. And every time excavation teams attempted to trace the origin of those signals, equipment failed, maps changed, personnel disappeared. One classified report described an incident where an entire tunnel system physically rearranged itself overnight. Walls shifted, doorways vanished. New passageways appeared where solid rock had existed the previous day. By the late 1970s, panic inside the classified programs had intensified, because investigators were beginning to suspect something even more disturbing. Moon Rome wasn't ruins. It was dormant infrastructure. The city showed almost no evidence of warfare or destruction. There were no signs of catastrophic collapse, no impact damage, no mass graves, no visible extinction event. It looked paused, as though its inhabitants had simply stepped away temporarily. Then came the recordings. In 1983, a joint excavation operation beneath Mare Imbrium reportedly captured the first footage of movement inside the city. Security personnel monitoring a sealed transit tunnel observed several humanoid figures crossing the corridor in complete silence before disappearing into darkness. The figures matched the preserved bodies found throughout the city. Except these were alive. The footage allegedly lasted 11 seconds before all cameras malfunctioned, simultaneously. Every person who viewed the original tape was reassigned under military order. 2 resigned within months, 1 later disappeared, and another supposedly leaked a handwritten statement years later containing only a single sentence. Moon Rome is still inhabited. At the same time, historians on Earth began uncovering strange parallels hidden throughout ancient mythology. Civilizations across history described kingdoms in the heavens, empires above the earth, cities inside the moon. The ancient Greeks spoke of divine kingdoms beyond the sky. Mesopotamian texts described gods descending from silver worlds. Certain Roman writings referred mysteriously to the eternal city above night. Most scholars dismiss these stories as symbolic mythology. But inside classified research divisions, another theory emerged. What if ancient humans weren't inventing myths? What if they were remembering something? The implications became terrifying, because moon roam suggested humanity's origins might extend far beyond Earth itself. And then researchers discovered the map. Deep beneath the lowest excavated sectors, hidden behind one of the massive sealed gates, investigators reportedly uncovered a chamber larger than entire cities on Earth. Its walls contained an enormous three-dimensional structure stretching across kilometers of black stone. At first, scientists believed it was artwork. Then they realized it was a network. Planetary systems connected through enormous transit pathways. Dozens of worlds linked together like stations. Ancient corridors between planets, and interplanetary civilization. And among those countless connected spheres, Earth appeared on the map. Not as a birthplace, as a colony. One symbol beneath it allegedly translated to a single word: returning. After that discovery, Rome Protocol entered total lockdown. All excavation activity was heavily restricted. Entire archives vanished. Personnel connected to lunar research disappeared from public records. Even modern satellite imagery of certain lunar regions allegedly began showing unexplained distortions and missing terrain data. But the secrecy didn't hold forever, because in the early 2000s, fragments started leaking online. Anonymous uploads, corrupted footage, audio recordings from underground expeditions. Most people dismiss them as internet hoaxes, until one video appeared that intelligence agencies reportedly failed to contain. The footage was shaky and distorted, apparently recorded by a hidden body camera during a restricted descent beneath the moon. It showed massive underground corridors illuminated by faint white light, dust drifting through gigantic empty streets, towering black structures disappearing upward into darkness. Then the camera turned, and standing at the far end of the corridor was a person, tall, motionless, wearing a dark metallic mask. The figure stared directly into the camera for several seconds before speaking. Not through translation software, not through radio distortion, perfect English. Rome remembers Earth. The feed immediately cut to static. The video spread online for less than 2 hours before disappearing from nearly every platform. But not before millions had already downloaded copies. Governments denied everything. NASA issued no statement. Former officials refused interviews. And yet, more leaks continued appearing afterward. Some showed moving lights beneath lunar craters. Others appeared to reveal active structures hidden under the surface. One audio file allegedly captured the synchronized chanting researchers had reported decades earlier. Except this time, the voices sounded closer. Much closer, as if they were approaching. Today, official space agencies continue preparing for humanity's return to the moon. New lunar missions, new bases, new excavations. Publicly, the goal is scientific research, resource extraction, permanent settlement. But conspiracy researchers believe the real reason is something else entirely. Humanity is going back because something beneath the moon has become active again. And according to the final leaked document connected to Rome Protocol, the signals transmitting from moon Rome have recently changed direction. For decades, the signals were leaving the moon. Now they're coming back. The final page of the document reportedly contains a single classified warning addressed to world governments. If the gates reopen, Earth must be prepared. Because the most horrifying possibility is not that humanity discovered an ancient civilization beneath the moon, it's that moon Rome never disappeared. It waited, watching Earth evolve from a distance, waiting for humanity to become advanced enough to remember where it came from. And somewhere beneath the silent craters of the moon, an ancient city may still be awake, waiting beneath black stone corridors, waiting beside impossible transit gates, waiting for the civilization on Earth to finally return home.